And
okay.
Yeah, you disappeared, but you're back now.
Okay, we're back now. So, Wasky and I are going to talk about how sometimes we are attracted by the cover of the book rather than what's inside. And,
for sure.
I buy lots of books because of the cover. And Wasky, I'm sure you might as well from time to time. But we do this in pens quite a lot. I'm attracted by flash and glitz and shape or size or whatever, and then I try writing with them, and they don't work well, and I kick myself all the time, or some of the time. Often I will be struck by the way something looks, and I might improve it by swapping out a nib, putting a nib that I really like in a pen that I like the looks of. A first example of that was, this is long before the interweb. I bought a Parker Duofold Senior in lapis lazuli for $1 at a garage sale, and I hated the nib in it, and I never used the pen until I put a Waterman 100-year pen nib in it, and consequently I loved that pen. Subsequent to then, I have found a nice, beautiful Parker nib, flexible, broad Parker nib. So it now is correct as well as being beautiful. But today we'll talk about pens that struck us maybe initially based on just their cover. Correct? Is that the idea?
That's my idea.
So do you have any preamble about?
Not really. I have a range. I've got some very nice pens, some very cheap pens, some from all over the world.
Well, I like when we do things where we take maybe one or two, maybe even three at a time, and that maybe have a link to them. And in terms of, these all have a visual thing which attracted me. And then we can we don't have one pen at a time, but we can swap back and forth. So you first. And meanwhile, I'll turn my camera around.
All right, and I'll flip this down. I can figure out
how to do this. Yes, I've turned it around, and I'm aiming it down. I've got black rather than, because we're not going to be writing with these things. We're just going to be showing them. So, oh, wow.
Yeah, I got them all organized.
Bright color. Yep. Well, I'll only show the three here, but you're first.
Okay. Well, I thought.
I see something already that pulls much of them together, and you know what it is.
I think so.
It's the color red or the color sort of rose or pink.
Oh, actually, I hadn't even thought of that.
Well, look at it. You have eyes in your head, mister?
No, yeah, I suppose I've got.
Oh, well, I do. Okay, well, then I don't see what you saw. So.
No, I thought these are actually variations. These are all celluloid pens. These are
okay.
They were actually made. I know this upsets people who live there now, but these were actually Czechoslovakian pens.
Okay.
Back when there was a Czechoslovakia.
Yep.
And these are just the variations on a celluloid. It's kind of the same celluloid. You can see. Oops, that didn't focus.
It reminds me of agates or quartz. You know.
Yeah, it's just like a really fine gem. You know, I've got the brown. There's I was given this one actually, a blue variation on it.
Mm-hmm.
And then my favorite variation is this kind of reddish version.
Okay. Yeah, and, I mean they're tiger's eye, I guess, also is
that's a good word for it.
It's used for those. There's a couple, as you know, most of my pens are older ones, and there was a couple of companies that used that iridescent material in the full pen. LeBoeuf was one. Not very many though. Most people, you know, like Schaefer or Parker, made them into stripes.
Right.
But when you see a whole chunk that's like yours, your 3, it's like rock candy or something. It just makes me want to lick them. They seem
Yeah.
like they would taste good.
And this one especially.
Yeah.
Of course, we're talking communist Czechoslovakia. This is a pen that would have only been for the party elite. This isn't one that normal people like me and you would have had. But
who are you not calling elite? I'm
okay.
No, I know that.
But then this one's kind of neat. They seem to range from the 50s to the 70s because this is a pretty 70s style filling mechanism.
Yeah.
So Centro Pen kept at this kind of design for a long time.
Yeah, cool. Okay, well, those 3 are down. Why don't you put them above the batch you have, just so we can still see them?
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I got this tiny little preview here, so I can't really tell what I'm looking at.
Okay, well, if you put them above, that's fine. They're done. I'm going to put them in a different order. So what I'm going to show are 3 pens here these are off-brand pens, 3rd or 4th tier even. And one's a Majestic, one is something I looked under my Colby it was called. I've never heard of it before, but they were quite popular pens that you would find that have a very swanky pattern to them.
Because there really wasn't anything spiders on it.
Yeah, they look like little spiders or bullet holes or something. And this is a pen-pencil combo, but it's a nothing pen. And if this was at a pen show, no one would even touch it. Well, they might touch it, but there's nothing here other than the flash. This one is a Majestic, and they were a 3rd tier pen, but good quality. They had inner caps and they worked okay. This one has this sort of Harlequin pattern that is slightly iridescent, but it's also not really regular. It's regular here, but then it overlaps and stuff, and it's kind of neat. And then this one has, I don't know if you can see it, but it has this sort of plaid it's like a plaid almost. It looks like it would make great linoleum floor pattern or something from the 40s. And these things used to just sit in a drawer because I never wanted to bother to fix them. But now I've got them organized in a different drawer by sort of flash or color. And they're pens that I really can't sell because I can't guarantee them to work very well, but they're nice to look at. So once a year, I look at them. So yeah. Okay, you're up next.
Well, I also have a Majestic here.
Okay.
So mine is not quite as fancy as yours. It has a kind of a brownish pattern.
Yeah, but it's vertical stripes. It's like the one you were showing earlier, except it went through the cheese grater or something.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure it's not celluloid. Being a Majestic, I'm pretty sure it's a lower cost material.
Yeah. I honestly don't know the materials that they use. I know that companies had different kinds of plastics that they had different names for, proprietary names, and the recipe was different. But I call them. I just use a generic plastic.
I wondered if maybe it was Bakelite or something.
No, Bakelite. It could be. Bakelite has a heavy. I think Bakelite has a heft to it. It feels heavier than just a regular plastic, but all plastics can be different too. So I don't know the answer to that. But the stripes are nice on those pens.
And they came in several colors. I happen to have the brown one, but I've seen green and blue and red.
Yeah, I like the brown with the gold trim, but I think if I had a choice, I think in that pen I might prefer the brown as opposed to the other colors. There's something nice about that combination. My turn, I think.
Yeah.
Uh, well, since we're talking about plastics and iridescences and stripes, I'll go with this one. This is a Schaefer. Schaefer. This is a wash your mouth out with soap, Pierre Gustafson. How dare you be so wrong? A Parker Vacuumatic. And one of the earlier Vacuumatics, when the earliest ones, or many of the early ones, tended to have the patterning. So a side of it was mainly light, and then a side was mainly dark. So sometimes you see vacuumatics that are all mixed around. You know, they still have the horizontal stripes, but the iridescence is all over the place. But I like when they have this black area and then this light area and then the dark area again.
Yeah, that's a nice effect.
And they
It's
did
almost
that.
like,
I mean, it's like the first ones you showed, like that brown one
yeah,
that the Party Elite like, because it's just this magical thing. You could just sit there all day long during the board meeting and mesmerize yourself by looking at these stripes. And they ask you what your opinion is of the merger, and you have to say, I wasn't paying any attention. Or you say, "Oh, absolutely, sir, whatever you say." And then the merger happens and you're blamed for the problem. So anyway, so that's, I as I was selecting these pens to show you, I often go back to the very first time I saw a vacuumatic or a particular type of a vacuumatic that really struck me. So 30 years ago or whenever this happened, um, you know, those brain cells are still there, but they've been watered down a lot by hundreds of other vacuumatics I've seen. So it's sort of hard. I'm trying to go back to the first judging the book by the cover, you know, the first impression of its look. So I'll try to keep that in my head as I talk about these. I'm just, since we're here on this plastic, I'm gonna go out of turn here and talk about this one. This is a Wall Eversharp Doric. And I remember the first time I saw these, I thought, wow, this is really cool. These, you know, fluted pens, and it's just fancy beyond belief. It has this sort of zigzaggy.
oh yeah, it looks like it's faceted too.
It is, the pen is faceted, but also the iridescent pattern of the plastic has all sorts of little cross-hatched lines, and this reminds me of how I draw with cross-hatching, and I just loved it. And then the central area of the barrel has a different pattern, which I sort of wish was happening everywhere, but this is so you can see through to the ink supply. So it's very fancy. And I have to show you this. The favorite version of this pen might be the all black version, just because of the facets show up better when it's all black. But I really like the gray with the silver trim. But this one is a pen and pencil set that I bought somewhere down the line. And they had put a picture of presumably the owner or the owner's son in here somehow.
Oh,
Isn't
kind
that
of
cool?
embedded in the
It's embedded. Yeah, it's been
material.
cut and then placed. And I don't know if this is something that a jeweler did. I think I've
Okay.
seen evidence of this happening before. And I don't know if it's something that was offered by the company or the pen store. But it was really sweet, I thought.
Yeah, well, with modern manufacturing, that's something that could be done very easily, and I've
Easily,
never
yeah.
heard of it.
Yeah, it's really fascinating, I thought. So anyway, back to you. So anyway, these are, again, patterns on the plastic that were sort of fun. And now your turn.
Well, I do something a little different. I've got materials that are beautiful here.
Okay.
These are newer pens.
Yeah.
Oops, I'm not under the camera.
Yeah.
The yellow one is a Monteverde Regatta Sport with apparently no nib in it.
Okay, good.
But I don't know where that went. But anyway, it's what I liked. Maybe it's the physics guy in me, but it's got this carbon fiber.
Oh, neat.
Which is really kind of one of the building materials of the future, I think.
Yeah, sure.
It's just an amazing material, and you're seeing it in more and more places.
Yeah.
And then this other one is a little bit more expensive pen. It's
Visconti?
a Visconti Homo Sapiens.
Yeah.
And what's interesting with this one is it's a resin. The pen at first doesn't look like much, but it's a resin actually made out of the ash from Mount Etna in Italy.
Oh, neat.
Which I just saw. And then this brass here, they did send a polishing cloth with it to keep it all shiny, but I kind of like this natural, what is it, wabi-sabi thing from Japan where you just let it naturally age.
Yeah. I'll get to my tarnished pen in a minute, but I do like pens that don't have to be shiny to look nice, I guess. I like them to have a warmth to them. And the since you moved to material differences, I'll switch gears. I'll end with plastic at the end, but since you now move to material, I will talk about this one. This is a Chilton, and it's a very, as you see, it's a very tall cap. I mean, the cap is very long. Yeah. And also the threads are down here, and there's all this length here. And it's because of the filling system they have, this touchdown system. So it's an oddly proportioned pen, and it's hard rubber with gold fill bands, and the bands here, and maybe not, is this the one that does that? It seems to me, maybe this one doesn't, that these unscrew, and this is all threaded, so it's like you can add another stripe if you want.
Oh.
If you get to be a captain, you can add another stripe from the commander. But you probably can't see, but this is lizard skin. It's covered in leather.
Oh, wow.
And they're very rare and rather pricey. I almost bought one that had ostrich skin on it, light tan ostrich. I do have one that has alligator or crocodile, I forget what, but it's a pen that can match your shoes and your purse. So what more would you want?
Yeah, I suppose.
out of this thing. But it's really, really a warm material. And I would think that pens that do have leather, actually, I have a Eversharp Symphony pen somewhere that has a little tiny leather band around it instead of, it has gold fill on either side and this little strip of leather, which was stupid on that pen. But on this pen, this is pretty neat, I think. So it's lizard skin of some sort.
Yeah, I've never seen a leather pen before.
And of course, it feels warm. It's like, you're holding, a pair of gloves almost. It's really,
well, you suppose
it's really neat, I think. So Chilton, as far as I know, Chilton is the only one that had leather covered goods. That Eversharp with the little band, that was weird, but this is pretty neat. And it seems to me that there could be, some company that could make a beautiful leather pen that, covered some boot company or whatever. Anyway, so that's that one. Okay, your turn.
Okay. Just trying to decide which one I want to go to now. I guess I'll go with, I'm going to cheat and put two together here.
No, that's fine.
One is the purple one is it's a Dutch one. It's a Selector. Yeah. And then the reddish one is a Japanese Platinum. Okay. So this Dutch one is quite a bit older. But what they have in common is they're both celluloids.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think, oh, that purple isn't showing up real well on the camera. But I just think that what you can do with celluloid is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that was kind of neat, which will be hard to pick up here, but this celluloid in the selector is actually, you can find the seam. So it must have been a sheet.
Yeah.
So you can see the seam is kind of rolled around there.
Yeah.
But on this platinum, which is the new pen, it's just a straight seam right there.
Okay. Yeah. Sometimes on Schaefer pens from the 30s, you can see a seam going straight down. And I'm sure it was cheaper for them to produce a pen on a flat thing like that than lathing or whatever, however they made them without that seam thing going on. But when you do see the Schaefer pens, I know, that have that seam, there's always a chance that it'll split a little bit. That's where a crack could more easily happen. That's cool. I'm looking at what you have left, and I'm looking at what I have left here. Speaking of trim, I guess, is what I was talking about last time. This is a hard rubber Swan, and Swan had this shtick where they did a lot of extra cap band business, and sometimes they were on the cap rather than the barrel. Sometimes they're on the barrel. But again, I liked the idea that it almost looks like a Navy uniform to me. The stripes on a sleeve of a officer's jacket, and I've always found that attractive in this particular pen. And I don't know whether looking at this right now, the way this is, it looks sort of off balance to me. But then it has this big old honkin' initial thing here, this license plate on the side of the thing, which kind of balances it a little bit. But the bands on this pen sort of made me want to buy it, I guess. Made me want to pick it up at a pen show and look at it a little bit. I don't know whether it would ever do that again. Certainly, if I saw another one of these at a pen show, I'd pick it up and then put it down because I can't afford them. But this one, do I need to get the entire crew? Do I need a captain? This is a lieutenant, what, commander? No, captain, commander. This is a Commodore. This is a Commodore.
Okay.
One big stripe and one little stripe is a Commodore. Commander is 3 stripes. Commodore is a big one and a little one. No.
Well, I know
Commodore
the Commodore outranks the
Commodore
Commander.
is a big one. And then an extra stripe is like a rear admiral or vice admiral or something. So anyway, that's that one.
You'd think I'd know this stuff because my dad was in the Navy. But...
Okay, you should. What was he? How high did he get? How many stripes?
He got out in the a little bit before I came along, so in the 70s.
Yeah.
So
what
I
was
don't know
his
if he
rank?
got to a lieutenant.
2 stripes.
Yeah, he didn't get super high. He was just in it for a few years.
He was just in it for the money, for the see of the world.
Yeah, I think so. And...
Not for conquering it. While we're okay, you've got 6 left. I have a little more than that, so I'll continue. May I?
Sure.
We were talking about, I don't know what we were talking about. I'll talk about material still, and these I can all do together. These 4, these are all Watermans, and they're sterling and gold fill. And this one, normally I'm not fond of gold fill or gold in general, but this particular pattern is very, very ornate. I don't know if you can see it here, if it gets in focus.
Oh, yeah.
But it has little tiny dents. This is hand engraved, hand pounded, hand hammered, and they all have these little dots in between the the leaves, and this is all sort of, I don't know what kind of leaves these are, but it reminds me of the acanthus capitals on Corinthian columns, or decoration on um, beautiful old wallpaper or Western boots or something like that. It's just this very beautiful pattern. And because it's so crisp and sharp and shiny, I bought it and I kept it. And I don't use it, but it's a pen that there's just so much depth in the carving, and that it's hand done is amazing to me. Contrasting to that was this pen. It's a Sterling Overlay Waterman 404. And I bought this for like $1,100. And this was many, many years ago. So call me crazy. But I loved this because it's thinner than a pencil, and but it's a fountain pen, slip cap. And the Sterling is like, it's called barleycorn, the pattern. And it's like a machinist made this, and it's just so elegantly simple in a design that but it was because of the design that I liked it. If it was smooth sterling, which I also love, I might not have bought it, but
Right.
I just love, and again, this is tarnished and subtle and everything, but it's just a delight. This set, I bought the pen first and then found a pencil that matched. It's not, this one has initials, this one doesn't. But this is the Waterman Slotted Sheraton. So it's sterling overlay with these lines cut out in it. And it's so Art Deco that it just immediately struck me when I saw it at an antique shop. I had to buy it. So even though my brain and my heart and my eyes all would have bought this, it was my eyes that first made me see it and say, I want that pen, because of this, of the design. It was just so machine aged in Art Deco and something or other, So had to get it.
No, I like those.
Yeah, slotted Sheraton, they're called. Relatively rare. Okay, your turn.
All right. Well, this time, since you were talking about individual craftsmanship, I've got two here with definitely some craftsmanship, because nowadays a lot of the pens are just kind of stamped in a mold and they don't have that.
Yeah.
But these two are from Japan, and the only reason I can afford these is because advertising dollars from doing my YouTube channel.
Oh, nice.
So I got something out of it.
Good.
But
okay.
I'll show you one at a time.
Yeah,
this one is a Nakaya. The shape is called a decapod twist, so it has 10 facets, but you can tell they're twisted.
Yeah, beautiful.
And it's ebonite underneath, but then they paint it with something called urushi, which is a sap, but it hardens. And they have to do a lot of layers, and it's, there's two different colors of urushi there. The underlayer is the green, and there's a brown on top of it.
Oh, neat. Yeah.
And then just because it's me, I had to have, I don't know if you can see it real well with this awful lighting, but I have the word squirrel there.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Not in English, of course, but.
Okay. Well, I love the fact that the paint on it, or whatever we want to call it, the covering, looks like it's not just skin deep. It looks like it goes deeply into the pen itself.
Oh, yeah. I don't know how many layers it takes, but it's a lot of layers of this urushi to make that. And, yeah, it's really skilled. In fact, this branch of the company was started, they rehired a bunch of their retired craftsmen from Platinum to make these.
Yeah.
Now, this one is a Platinum. It's a Izumo. Yeah. It's apparently modeled off of a temple in Japan called, I forget the first word, Byakudan is the second word.
Okay.
But, it has some clouds in it. It's the same kind of urushi.
Yeah.
But it also has a little bit of maquille because you can see they did some other things besides just paint. Like there's little gold dust in it,
Yeah.
different colors, and of course lots of urushi to protect it.
Yeah. I had an old Pilot pen from the 40s, maybe 30s. I don't know. It looked like a Waterman, and it had that maquille finish to it, which was really neat to have for a while. I sold it to someone that appreciated it more than I did. I liked it for the while that I had it, and
Yeah,
because it
Pilot
was
does
just,
urushi also.
yeah, it was such a beautiful little picture. It was like a little divider screen, you know. But so that was fun.
Oh yeah,
Um,
some of them, if you want to spend lots of money, you've got scenery on the pen, or
yeah, geisha girls
yeah, just
and all sorts of stuff. Yeah, the one I had it was some sort of scene on the barrel. The cap was completely gold, sort of sparkly pattern to it, very subtle sparkles, but it was gold, and it had a big black moon or sun or something, just this big black dot. And that was the only thing that was on the cap, which I thought was cool. Um, but that was at a time when I didn't really have foreign made pens. And I thought, I don't want to go down that path because I'll never stop. And I didn't have the parts to fix German or Japanese pens. So I sort of steered away from them. But I sort of regret selling that one. I've got 5 left. You've got 4 left. I'm going to go to something completely different. And this is a Schaefer Triumph nib pen. And I remember the very first time I saw a Triumph nib, I thought, what the hell is this? It was so cool. I couldn't believe how neat this design was. And they still kind of amaze me because of the way they look. Of course, they write are almost always like nails. I did buy this one on eBay. It's a desk pen and it has a stub nib, a Triumph stub, which I thought might be flexible stub, but it isn't. It's just stub. But anyway, I when I first saw these pens, I thought it was just the coolest thing ever. I've changed my mind. They're not the coolest thing ever, but they're pretty cool. But that was just, I was buying it because of the shape of this nib. Certainly not because how they wrote. So that's that one.
some of them are kind of fun. I have one with the Triumph nib where it's kind of upturned at the end, so it gives it no flex, but definitely some line variation.
Yeah, the upturn is called the Waverly point.
Okay.
And someone told me that at the pen show at one point. It was called the Waverly, and I didn't know what he was talking about. And he said, well, that, and then I later heard all about it. And there's a reason that they had that upturn, and it might have been to make it easier to write more vertically than down here like this. Maybe easier to make carbon copies. It's a pen that I almost always give a lefty to write with first, because I almost always know that they, regardless of how they write, they're not gonna dig the nib into the paper because of that upturned snout that they have. But look that up, Waverly nib. I think that's what they called it. Okay, your turn.
All right. Well, this time I'm going to go to one of those stamped, mass-produced modern pens.
Yeah.
This is I should have picked a better one, I think.
Okay.
It's a Platinum 3776.
Okay.
And it has what's called a Yamanaka finish. Okay. And what they were trying to do is they were doing a pen to reference the different lakes around Mount Fuji.
Yeah.
Which 3776 comes from, I think it's how many meters tall Mount Fuji is.
Okay.
But anyway, this is meant to just look like the ripples, and they have come out with some really neat ones. The latest one is this beautiful purple one that looks like little gemstones, but they've also jumped up a lot in price, so I quit buying them.
Yeah, nice, nice. Okay, I'm going to do three at once, just because they're all sort of related. I've always admired the sort of Jupiter map of Jupiter type of plastics, where it looks like clouds, or this is the great red spot in black and white on Jupiter, the vertical sort of plastic wavy pattern, and you see them in many different colors, usually in off-brand pens. They didn't really use this too much in the Schaefer or Parker way, but I really love the sort of, well, I'll call it the great spot of Jupiter look of there's another one, another big red spot there. And these are both Good Service Pen Company pens, the company that I now own, and or the company that, well, the store that I bought was called the Good Service Pen Shop, and they had a lot of Good Service pens, which were made by the company that the woman that ran the shop worked for. And so she just took the name when they fired her. They let her go. The company went bankrupt, and she was paid in all of the parts that that they had, and she moved to Minneapolis and opened a pen shop, which I now still own. I guess I still own it. So the Good Service Pen Company, and this is some off-brand pen, Cavalier. But again, it has this pattern. LeBoeuf made a black and white pen that was just similar to this, though a little bit more wood grainy. This looks again like Jupiter. So I've always been fond of these kinds of pens. Okay, I've got one left, but you've got three. So,
well, let's see if I can squish some together.
You don't have to squish them together. It's fine.
I'll do these two together. These are both Toes Penkala. They would have been made in what's now Croatia, but at the time they were made, it would have been Yugoslavia. Actually, the company's kind of a cool company. The founder was quite a guy. But anyway, what I kind of liked, this one has almost like a striped celluloid, like a
pelican.
Yeah, but no, not the same color. And then kind of this reddish brown on the cap and the turning knob.
Okay, and a 51 like nib.
Yeah, it's just kind of a neat little pen, and
yeah, I like the color. The brown is a funny color for me in terms of how it works with a pen. So it's sort of a funny color. I don't know, but on that one it looks nice.
Yeah, it just works with, this is a very light brown and this is a dark brown, and they just go together. And I like with this finish, you can see the ink level, not like in a demonstrator, but you can see it.
Yeah, nice.
And then this one is just I think it's a little bit newer pen.
Yeah.
It's still a piston knob, but just going by what I know about the company history. But when I first got it, I thought that this was, because they used to do sometimes a really thin plastic film wraparound.
Mm-hmm.
And when I first got it, that's what I thought this was. But then when I looked, when you look through down here, through the ink window, which probably isn't showing up well, you see that it actually goes the whole way through. So it's
a kind of plastic that's fully zigzagged.
Yeah, like your Majestic that you were showing.
Yeah.
So it was just very different from
the Eversharp I was showing. Yes.
Or Eversharp, yeah.
Yeah. Well, almost all of those pens, like I thought one of the pens you had was your Schaefer Carmine, but I guess it wasn't that. Okay, I found two more. These are similar to the ones I just showed. with the map of Jupiter. This is in blue, and this is, again, they're off-brand pens, Lincoln Pen and a Lakeside, both from Chicago, I think. It's kind of the same National Pen Product pen. So it was a shtick that they did this, and they're quite lovely, I think. My last pen sort of fits in the scheme of the one you just showed with the plastic. This is the Conklin Nozac, which was a piston fill pen, and it has this sort of chevron, black and pearl and red. It reminds me of the border crossings of Germany. Yeah, and there's just something that's really fun about these pens. It just makes me think of border crossings in Germany, which maybe isn't always a pleasant thought, but where are your papers? But it's really a fun pattern, and these point down and those point up, and then in between they're clear, so you can see the ink level inside. Does this one have? Yeah, this has the milligrams or drops of ink that are left. So how many words there's a little gauge on the side, so you judge that. I can't finish my sonnet until I add more milliliters to my pen. But anyway, so that's it. So these almost all of these pens struck me initially because of how they looked, and some of them were bought really only because of that. I knew that this pen would not have a nice nib, but I also knew that I could put a nice nib in it. So I have put a nice nib in almost all of these, and sometimes I use these for Franken pens. Like this, I think this is a Franken pen, a 19th century dip pen nib in this one.
Oh.
And I think this is a Schaefer section. I mean, it's all screwed up, but I like these pens because they're flashy looking. They're not overly valuable most of the time. Like this one is not. If this was a Waterman, it would be many hundreds of dollars. But because it's a Lincoln pen, it might be $100 worth of pen. So I'm able to use, this is another, let me just show you. The nib that it had would have been a warranted blah blah nib, but I put a Franken penned it to be a Victorian dip pen nib in it. And there's just a lot of length in the cap for me not to worry about breaking the nib in it.
So are those Victorian nibs, would those be gold or steel nibs?
They're gold. They're gold
Okay.
nibs. They come from the mother of pearl. Let me just show you. Where are you? They normally would be found on things that look like this.
Okay.
Or this, or all of this kind of stuff. And the nibs are almost always gold, and they're the ones that I use for my calligraphy. And often these oversized National Pen Product. See, this is the nib that would normally fit on this pen. It was sold like this. It's a rather small nib for such a big pen, because again, it wasn't a top brand. They were selling it as a big pen, but it wouldn't cost as much as a dual fold. So it was a way for them to sell it. I'm moving back to the case.
Okay.
So
I
can do that too.
I will switch here.
Okay. So
there we go.
It felt very weird not writing with more of these pens.
Yeah. The nice thing is I don't have too many pens to clean from doing this video.
Yeah. It's I have a few that I have to clean, and I have to then remember how to put them back. There was some that go in one kind of drawer where I keep sets, and there's another one where I put in another drawer that I keep because it has a name on it or something. So there's some bookkeeping that has to happen. Or like I'm a librarian, but my Dewey Decimal System is all screwed up because sometimes, is this a rare book or do I just put it in the stacks with the other ones? And is it an oversized book or can it go in the shelf next to the other one? So it's kind of like that with me. But this was fun. I enjoyed going back to the first impressions I had of particular pens. And some of these brain cells are 30 some years old. So the fact that they work is something. But it was fun to look at a pen based on how they look. And just as an aside, there are many, many serious pen collectors that only do that much. They don't ever put ink in them and they don't ever write with them. And to me, they're missing out on so much. Yeah. But, they have their desire to keep the pen perfect. And I guess I can understand that to a degree, but normally inking a pen is not going to damage it. And
I think they need to be inked. Like if they have a sack or something, it just needs ink once in a while.
Yeah.
Keep the parts working. It's fun, you get an original box or original pen, but
yeah, I know
it's got to be used.
There are some people that have this desire for pens that have the original price stickers on them. And whenever I see a pen like that, I think of, what was her name? She was a country western singer, Pearl.
Oh, Minnie Pearl. She was on Hee Haw.
Minnie Pearl, who had her hat would always have the price tag on it to show her kinfolk how much she spent or something or whatever. And it always seems dumb to me to have it stay there, but I do understand. I've kept a couple on my pens. I have a yellow duofold senior with its original price tag of $7 on the little blind cap, but that's a pen that I would be afraid of using normally anyway, just because it's so valuable. And it's probably the most valuable pen I own right now. And I don't like having pens that I don't use, but
I have one or two. The main reason I don't use them is just they're such a pain to clean out.
Yes. Well, that's true. And you're someone who's very tidy and organized. I'm a slob. On a good day, I'm a slob. And on a bad day, I'm really sloppy. But there's someone that wants me to sell him 2 Triumph Nib Schaefer pens, and I would have sold them and sent them off months ago, except he wanted to be able to see through the visualated section that they have. And so I've been soaking them and cleaning them and soaking them and cleaning them and trying to make them to his satisfaction, which is something I normally wouldn't do. I make them so they work. If someone wants to clean them tidier than that, they can, but I don't have those hours in the day. I'd rather do other things, I guess.
But, that Schaefer of mine, the Carmine one that you mentioned, that has one of those visualated sections. And, when I restored it, I tried, but I just didn't have the patience to make it clear. And I don't know how much that is the plastic yellowing with age, too.
The other thing about that particular pen is a friend of mine, took the pen apart and cleaned it, put the thing in the or cleaned it somehow, and then went in to, clean it further, and the entire section is clear. It's just the inside of part of it is painted, but he ended up taking the paint off of the part that's further forward, and of course made the pen look worse than just a dirty section. So anyway, you're tidier. You clean pens up when you're done and rinse them out and all that kind of stuff. I just empty them and put them back in the drawer, and I pay for it later, because every once in a while a pen will get, I don't clean it out enough when I'm putting it away, and there's a little bit of ink that's in the feed and it clogs, and then I have to clean it up then. But anyway, let's end on a happy thought.
Okay.
This was fun. I enjoyed this. I hope that our followers will like this. I'm trying to do this sort of two-way chatting with other people, other artists and other calligraphers and other pen people. I think that what we've done is good, and I think our respective audiences tend to enjoy it. So let's keep doing it. Do you have an idea for next time?
Well, I know we had talked about paper before.
Yeah.
That
paper
might be
a good one. Yeah, paper might be good. I think maybe for that one, it might be, maybe we both can load a pen up, maybe a pen that's somewhat flexible.
Okay.
Just because of the testing of the paper, because you've got the smoothness of the paper, the bleed through, the slickness of the paper, whether so I think that might be fun if we both, if we use Waterman Black or something that we both have in a somewhat flexible nib. I've got lots of paper that I use, and some of it, for example, these are check things that were to go through a printer. They're blank checks, and it would make a copy, for your bookkeeping. And then this is the check that would be printed.
Oh,
and it's
okay.
it's beautifully smooth paper, and my ink doesn't bleed. And when I have to do a little tiny drawing, I often will use this paper because I know it's not going to bleed. And paper that I buy at the art supply store that says it will not bleed, well, it bleeds now. They've improved it so it bleeds. So there are papers that I have that aren't really meant to be used in the way that we use them, but I find that they work well. So and I think I showed you the paint chips.
Yeah, I remember
Benjamin
that
Moore
from
paint.
last time.
Yeah, I mean, they're things that a normal writer, our normal viewers, might not have any reason to ever want to use that kind of paper, but it's interesting still to see what the ink and the pen does with things like that. So I might have some weird papers. Yours are probably going to be more geared on what you've used.
Yeah.
Toma paper and your Bomo journal and things like that. But so I'll try to collect some interesting odd papers, and maybe you can do the same,
I'll do that. I'm going back to school.
If we both have the same ink in the same kind of pen, at least that won't be a factor. We'd just be talking about how the paper reacts to it.
Okay. Yeah, we might have to email back and forth. I have I own no Waterman inks at all.
Oh, okay. Well, it could be,
But I have Parker.
Parker ink is fine.
Okay.
Just it doesn't really make any too much difference. I mean, I can easily get Parker. So, and if we want to just, should we say blue? let's say blue, Parker
Yeah.
blue ink.
Got it right here.
And what kind is that? What color blue, or is it just blue?
It's just the regular washable blue.
Washable blue. Okay, washable blue it is. Parker washable
All
blue.
right.
I'll get some next time I go to the store. And as far as I know, they're still open because they are necessities. By they're what's the word I want? They have to be open. It's
essential businesses.
Essential. That's the word I want. Essential businesses. Okay. Well, be good, and this has been fun. So I look forward to uploading the video to my site, and you'll do it on yours. And
I will.
We'll do it now. So turn it off, and we'll say